on average 1 ounce of silver per year. I mean, it's worth a little more than that, in my opinion, to the current silver melt rates. But anyways, I'm going to go over this just to put it in perspective. And why I'm saying this is because you just don't think of at a fiat currency rate, because that's worthless, really. I've been over this many times. It's just paper or digits. It really means nothing. Laying chicken means food, means stuff you can share with friends and family in your community. You can make dishes, plenty of dishes with eggs. Also, a laying hen who is having eggs, and if you have a rooster involved, then you can have them to have chicks, and then you'll have more future laying hens, that kind of stuff, and it just goes on and produces and compiles. So I'm going to go into this a little bit, give you some figures and some numbers, that kind of stuff. So a laying chicken or a producing chicken lays on average 5 eggs per week. And this varies by breed, by diet, conditions, etc., all that stuff. So on average, a chicken could lay, and would lay, depending on how you're looking at it, with all these variables, 1,350 eggs in its lifetime. We're saying 10-year lifetime. Yes, sometimes chickens don't last 10 years because of outside factors, predators, sickness, whatever, but I'm just saying on average, a 10-year span. That's almost 113 dozen eggs. So I'm going to use 112 dozen eggs for the breakdown of all this stuff. And here's just a scope of a chicken's life. So if I'm taking this year 1 to year 10, and how much of a percentage they are producing to their full ability. Year 1, 100%. Year 2, they're 85%. Year 3, 68%. Year 4, 60%. Year 5, 50%. Year 6, 45%. Year 7, 35%. Year 8, 30%. Year 9, they're at 25%. And year 10, they're at 20%. So yes, they're how much they're laying over the span of their life drops accordingly as their age. And so I'm just using all these as a whole, putting it all together and just figuring an average for things. So a lot of chickens will not make it to 10 years, like I said. So in that time being, you lose one after 6 years. Maybe you got a few new ones, new chicks that are producing hens nowadays. Or, you're going to have chicks from another hen, and then you're going to have others to replace the one or the few you've lost due to, outside factors that were out of your control. Whatever. I know some farmers decide, after year 4, year 6, year 8, whatever, to use them use them for meat for their dogs, meat for whatever, and they already have new chicks that have taken their place that are now laying hens. So, there's many variables, like I said. Using just a little arithmetic and a little comparison to the current average price of a dozen eggs, which is right now $2.50. That's the current average price of a dozen eggs in a grocery store. Yes, I know farm fresh eggs demand a little higher price because people want that more, and there's more nutrition, there's more value, there's more whatever. But just your standard, grocery store dozen eggs, right now it's $2.50. This is June of the year 2022. So that's $2.50. You take that over the span of a lifetime. We'll do 112 eggs, like I said. We're looking at $280. That's for the span of a chicken's life. $280 just in the value of the eggs that they have had over their lifespan, their lifetime. So each laying chicken, each producing chicken, is $28 per year. You take that, span it over 10 years, $280 over 10 years, that's $28 per year. So right now, the current price of gold, current rate of gold at melt, is it's $23 almost. So right now, laying chicken, producing chicken, value really is $28 because of what things are at. So actually, it's higher than an ounce of gold melt right now. It's more comparable to, stuff that has a little premium to them, like your Silver Eagles, that kind of stuff. Your Maple Leafs, Canadian Maple Leafs, all that stuff that demanded a little more premium to it. But I'm just going melt right now, just generic silver, rounds, that kind of stuff, melt price. It's like almost $23. So you take that, let's say you have a flock of 10. So you take your 280 times 10 over 10 years, that's $2,800. That's $1,000 more than the current rate of an ounce of gold right now. So, I mean, really, that's the way to think of it, is real value. To have something real, something that really matters. You're eligible for food. You have a creature, animal, that can produce more chicks, that can give you more food, that you can share amongst others, that you can make dishes with, whatever. And that's more healthy, you're more health conscious, that kind of stuff. Versus, all this stuff, if you look into it, that's pumped in from wherever the stuff's coming from, that's in your grocery stores or wherever you're getting your eggs from now, other than a farmer. That's a different case. So I'm saying this to think of things in terms of real. It's got real value. It's got real value of use. It's got something more than just digits that can be taken away and wiped out and zeroed out, or paper that you have that can become worthless, and it will become worthless. Look at all the countries, all the fiat currencies over the decades, over the centuries, that kind of stuff, that have lost, became worth nothing. I have many shown videos. I got a bunch of paper, like the biggest one is the $100 trillion bill from Zimbabwe, that had actual real value, I believe, in American terms, the U.S. dollar terms, Federal Reserve note terms. It was worth billions. $100 trillion in Zimbabwe, it was worth billions. And 2005, 2006, somewhere around there, and then just wiped out. Worth nothing, not a thing. Really, that's what's going to happen, and that's what is happening. That's why inflation, I believe, is 8.8% according to their numbers. And we all know, if you go to Shadow Stats, you look at it from the real numbers they kept track of in the 80s and up to the 90s when they started changing it. They had food in there, and they looked at other things of real actual use. And now, current inflation rate, according to those numbers, is more like 17-18%. So that's according to their numbers, years ago, when they were keeping a realer scope on inflation than what they are now. And even that, I would say, is skewed because it doesn't have everything in there. But I just want to do a little visual thing to show you. So you got one laying hen, and just think of it as this, all right? This is just one silver buffalo. It's a generic round. You can buy these for a few dollars over current melt. It's like $23. So you can get this for like $25, $26. Maybe a little more because of the scarcity that silver's getting into right now. But anyway, so you have one, all right? This is your one laying hen for the year, all right? So then you decide to get more, you get 5 laying hens. So your 5 laying hens every year. This is what they produce. This is the value of them every year. This is the value of them, all right? They don't cost much, really, to keep. If you have them free range, they primarily eat off of the grass, the forage, the bugs, all that kind of stuff. Wood ticks, they eat up. It's great to keep your wood tick level lower. And then you can supplement some stuff here and there. It doesn't cost much. Just make sure they have water, make sure their coop's clean, or whatever you have them in's clean, and that kind of stuff. And you should be going great as long as wherever you're living allows it. And I say that with a little cringe because you shouldn't have to be allowed to do anything in a free country, free world. But that's a topic for another story. So anyways, I added those 5. Added 5 more, so now you have 10. These are your 10 laying chickens, 10 producing chickens. All right? That's what you have. So this is every year they're worth less. Every year a laying hen is worth this. So you have 10 of them. Every year it's worth this. So every year you have this much value of them, and then the next year you will have this times 2. There's 10 here times 2, and you got to think of it that way because they're constantly producing. And I mean, there's things you can do with them. You can can them, many things. And I know if you go to the grocery store, you'll, especially now, you see empty shelves, and depending on what part of the country you're in or the world you're in, you're going to see a lot of empty shelves and a lot of barren shelves. And the freezer department, the refrigerator department, I mean, your meat, your dairy areas, that kind of stuff, your poultry areas, and most of your dry goods. You're in some areas, it isn't so bad, but it is a lot more empty than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It wasn't like that. And then there's other places where you walk down aisle after aisle and there's nothing really. So I'm saying that because there'll come a time, and it's going to be soon, that I believe, and I've heard other people talk about this, that a dozen eggs could cost you $12. All right? That they're talking by the end of this year, by the end of 2022. I don't know if that's the case or not, but the more they push and the more you see of all these factories and all these production houses burning up, a lot are your foods, your poultry, your chicken houses, all these chickens dying for whatever you want to call it. If it's a real thing going on or not, a psyop, I know I have my take on it. You might have yours, but I'm just saying you got to think of these stuff in real terms. Would you rather be in a position where you want eggs to cook, to bake, to just cook breakfast or whatever, and you can't get them from the grocery stores, or they're going to cost you $12 a dozen or $8 a dozen? Or would you rather be in a position where, well, I thought I had a little bit, I didn't have to get the best of the best coop or whatever. I found an old shed, or I found an old house, kid's house, one of those plastic things or wood things or whatever, and I just transitioned it, boarded it up, made it work into a coop. And that's what we did. And now we got this. And we only have 4 chicks, or we only have 6 chicks, or we only have 2 chicks, or we only have, 10 chicks. And we're learning, that is way better than being in a position where you cannot get to the store to pick stuff up that you need. And I'm just talking eggs on this one, or poultry. If you can get some boilers or fryers, they call them too, that are your meat chickens. I maybe do something on that once we have a little more, awareness of that, and a little more in depth of on-hands experience, because that we're not really versed in that yet. But once we are, I'll do a video on that for sure too here in a few months. But anyways, I just want to say this because people think of stuff in real terms, real things that matter. Food really matters, and access to it and having that, and then sharing that with those in need, or those you love, or those you care about, or just, anyone who you desire to help. That's all I have to say about this. So just think of things in the terms of how real accessory, a real worth, a real value. I'd like to do more videos on this too, just to put stuff in perspective a little bit. So just think of it this way. A laying, producing chicken is worth, on average, 1 ounce of silver, at least, and by the numbers that I showed here, it's more currently to what the melt rate, what silver is. But anyways, thanks. If you like this, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching. As always, stay vigilant. Yourself, your family, protect your wealth, and protect your health.